What's that?
Clap again. We've done a lot of talking.
All right, 3, 2, 1. And there it is. Oh, that was a good one. Ow, that actually kind of hurt my ears a little bit, but that's okay.
Pussy.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
You know what? I'm going to say it.
I don't care.
Deservedly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Like, you're the wise guys. You're the funny man, and I'm just the guy who's like. Maybe you did. Who knows? All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Board Game Gateway Podcast, episode number 53. My name is Neeber, and I'm your host for this evening's podcast. And joining me, I have my two co-hosts, Mr. Ralph and Mr. Damien.
Hello.
For the second time, we are hands-free. We have no mics in front of our face.
I have no hands.
We are trying. No hands, only mouths. That's what you can. And we have Goose here, the mascot of the show. He's coming for pets as well. If this is the first time that you're listening to the Board Game Gateway podcast, this is your entryway into the world of board gaming, tabletop gaming, and fun times, where we will be taking you through some of the games that we've played over the week and our gateway game of the week, which this week is Paku Paku. We'll take you through that towards the end. We're also going to have a quick chat about 3 different games that we've been playing through the week. One is Vinhos. One is Slay the Spire, one of the new hotnesses that have made it to the shores through the Kickstarter. And the other one is an oldie but a classic, Android Netrunner. So, gentlemen, welcome. We haven't had 3 behind the mics in a while. It's lovely to have you back here.
It's been ages.
Yeah, it has been ages. But you'll note that if you are relatively new to the board gaming scene, 2 of those games seem to be relatively older sort of games. Vinhos, I believe, is... Whoa!
Hello, we have a fourth host.
Go to our YouTube channel. Our dog has decided he wants part of this. Oh my God.
So cute.
I'm leaving this one in. If you want to see what's happening, my dog has just decided he wants to be part of this podcast.
Get him a mic.
He's jumped on the table. So you're going to have to see that at www.youtube.com/@BGGateway if you want to see the dog in action. Get down, you... Get out of here. Go on. Come over here. Go away.
I've never seen him do that before.
I've never seen him do that before.
It's a special episode.
You know what? He's look, I know we're a board game podcast, but this has completely derailed us a little bit. He is a pound hound though. So the fact this is new, the fact that he's like being up close and personal with you boys is we've been doing this for nearly 18 months.
Yeah,
he has
never been
this close before.
No.
So he is feeling nice and comfortable with the boys. But anyway,
he'll be sitting on my lap next time.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, let's get into the first game. We're going to talk about a game. Damien, we're going to start with you. A game that we played this week. An oldie but a goodie. Some would say one of the best wine games of all time. It is Vinhos. Please take us through this game and let's have a bit of a chat about it, hey?
Yeah, so Vinhos is an older game by a Portuguese designer, Vital Lacerda. I believe it was his first game that he formally designed. Don't quote me, but I think it was. And the general premise of the game is you're effectively running a wine distribution service where you are covering everything from
making the wine
to aging the wine to then selling or displaying and
going to the local show and displaying your wine and trying to make everyone happy with you.
But the actual mechanically, what the game actually is, it's a worker placement game. And the really interesting thing about the game is that the worker placement slots that you have are in effect a grid, and the rules is if you try to use the action that the round marker is currently in, because the round marker also passes through these action spots on the grid, you have to pay a penalty to the bank. Mm-hmm. If you try and use a spot that's more than 1 square away in this grid, you have to pay a penalty to the bank. If you try and use a spot that one of your opponents is in, you have to pay them the penalty.
So you can jump to where your opponent is.
You can, yes.
Cool.
But you'll have to pay me for the privilege of using the space that I was currently in.
That's right.
Like Anno was a little bit like that. I had to pay you to use your...
Absolutely, similar sort of thing.
It has that similar thing. Now, anyone who's familiar with Vital Lacerda's games, they will know that he typically designs very, very heavy games. So some of my favorites like On Mars or Lisboa.
The box is heavy as well.
The box is also physically heavy.
Escape Plan's
another one. But
Cape Land. Sorry, it's half covered. So.
the trench run is in front of it.
Yeah. But this game is a little lighter than those. I would argue it's a little bit simpler. Now, I will say we played the deluxe edition of it, and the deluxe edition, yes, it is prettier than the first edition.
It comes with a bottle of wine.
I wish, that'd be nice. But it also has two sides. So there's effectively two different versions of the game.
There's the original version,
2010,
which they call the 2010 Reserve,
Oh,
or the
okay.
2016 Reserve, which is the
I like
re-release, and it's a bit nicer. We had a look at the rules, but essentially it's got to do with there's a couple of things that just make your life a little bit easier. Now, when Damo says that, hey, you have to pay the bank, we're talking about that's $1, right, to pay the bank, but you only start the game with like $18. And you don't make a lot of money in this game.
Yes.
You make like when you sell a really good bottle of wine, it's like $10 max.
Yeah.
So you start with 18. You've got to. So to kind of sorry to kind of jump in a little bit here, but the game itself is actually super. As you said, it is super simple because there is only 8 actions that you can actually do in the game.
Okay.
9 technically, but realistically, there's 9 actions you can do.
There's 12 actions.
No, there's 9, but the bulk of the actions you're going to be doing for most of the game, there's 7 actions that you'll be doing, and there'll be 2 actions that you kind of do for end game scoring that you won't be doing, right?
And on top of that, like 2 of the actions are identical.
Yep. And so, as he said, it's only a 3x3 grid. So there's so it's a 3x3 grid, and I'm moving in this 3x3 grid trying to get to the actions, but avoiding people and avoiding paying the fines, because the fines can really hurt. Because this is
if you pay more.
Yeah, so when he says this is one of Lacerda's lighter games, there's still a bit of crunch here because you are playing with like dollar values of like 18, where I know that if I go there, I'm gonna have to pay Ralph 1, the bank 1, because it's currently the round marker is there. And to buy this thing is going to cost me 9. So you're doing all of this math in your head, right? But at its core, it is basically buy vineyards, grow wine at said vineyards, and then either sell those wines for money, sell them for end of game victory points, or take them to like the local wine show and get victory points 3 times throughout the game. But there are these judges. And these judges will say, right, Judge A needs it to be a white wine, because obviously you can have white and red. And then the Judge 2 will say, I need it to be from regions 1, 4, 5, and 7, right? And there's 9 regions in the game. So if you didn't buy a vineyard from that winery, tough luck. And the other one says, I need it to be at least value 6. And you're looking at your board going, I've only got Aldi style wine. I've only got 4s. Well, how the hell do I get to 6, right? So the whole game becomes this whole thing of you only have limited actions. And by limited actions, I mean 12 actions for the entirety of the game. You move here, you can do something, that's 1 action.
Yeah.
You do here, you do another action, fantastic. You've done your first 2 actions. We immediately produce wine straight away. So every 2 turns, you produce wine. So it's like action, produce. Yeah. Action, produce.
Awesome. So you know it's coming in.
So you know it's coming, but it is also one of those things where you're sitting here going, I've only got 12 actions. How am I going to get wine? And then all of a sudden you're sitting here going, I don't have good quality wine.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
And then this is kind of where the rub is. So Nee's mentioned a few things there. Now, when it comes to producing wine, one thing that happens is that every year you flip an event tile. And that event tile will determine your modifier for your wine.
We had a really good year, so all of a sudden all of the wine is boosted
by 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But there are more bad years than good years.
Okay. We had at the end of the game,
it was a negative.
It was a negative 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god, I really."
That's right. Yeah. Now, and as Nee mentioned that, like you can sell for money, you can
sell for
points, or take a wine to be judged. The important thing to remember is that whichever of these 3 options you take, once you use the wine, it is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
the judge has to drink it.
That's right. Yeah.
Or you exported it to a different country, and therefore it's now gone. Right? So that's how you get victory points.
The first two are pretty self-explanatory. So you're selling for money, or you're basically earmarking end of game points. But the reason why you want to go to the judges is it's not just for mid game points or actually sort of end of phase points. It's also because if you can impress the judges accordingly,
Yeah.
you then get your barrels. So your barrels represent the size of your business growing. All of a sudden,
Cool.
you have more barrels. You can produce more of that quality of wine.
So it doesn't increase the value of the wine.
No.
It's just
the
how
supply.
much wine you can produce.
And you need those barrels in order to sell wine
to get more points.
or to get more points at the end of the game.
No,
Because when
cool.
you earmark your wine for end game scoring, you don't get those barrels back.
So if I'm selling locally, I sell to you, you drink it, I get my barrel back.
Yeah.
But if I ship my barrel overseas, bye barrel, I don't get it back. And you only start the game with 2 barrels.
Yeah.
You will only get a maximum of 6. Well, 8 at the end, but you can only get an extra 6 more barrels throughout the whole game.
You get a maximum of 8 barrels, so
for the whole game.
So the way that you unlock the barrels is through the judges.
That's
so
right.
you can so for every judge, then remember how I said the judge A wants a red wine?
Yeah.
Well,
and time to get.
So you need to impress 2 of the 3 judges to get a barrel. So for every judge that you impress, you get a barrel up to a maximum of 2. So let's say, for example, you went all big on buying vineyards and they're all red, but Judge A wants a white wine. You're like, well, I can't present a white wine. Okay, so now if you want your 2 barrels, you best hope that it's as good a value as whatever B says. It wants a 6 value wine. And you're sitting here going, crap, I'm only got a 5 value wine. Well, you can... you can boost the value of it through certain ways of like saying, hey, I'm going to make my display nice and grand. Therefore, maybe the taste gets bumped up. But then you can say, but then Judge 3 comes in and says, I want a winery. I want wine from this region, from one of these regions on the board. And you're sitting there going, I don't have any of those. Tough luck, right? Yeah. So
you could get really lucky. Just so happen all the judges want.
So in our game, we both were able to unlock. In a 2-player game, it's a bit easier because we were able to unlock all of it. We were fighting over specific things, but we weren't ever finding a lack of vineyards.
However,
we said that at 4 players,
it's really tight. At 4 players, you're always in each other's face. In addition, there's one other little thing. So when it comes to improving your wine, every action you take that happens to relate to a particular region in Portugal, because all the wine in this game is coming from different regions in Portugal. Whether it be you're taking a vineyard from a particular region, or you are
increasing the storage
of that vineyard for that region, or you are setting up a wine tasting room for wine of that region, you are adding what's called renown cubes to that region. Okay. So basically, you're saying this wine is becoming more and more popular. If your opponent is also doing things in that region, when if they choose to sell or present that wine from that region before you, they can use those renown cubes ahead of you.
So you consume that.
That's right, to then improve the quality of their wine. So basically, what that means, that represents you selling your wine at market and saying, okay, yes, hey, that guy over there.
This is from the Hunter Valley region.
He's got the same wine as me.
In Portugal.
But my wine's better. And so you're taking renown cubes to in effect to do that. Look, Vinhos is a classic as far as I'm concerned. It's a brilliant game.
Yeah, look, there's one other thing as well which we didn't talk about, which is that, well, let's say you want to buy from region 4, right? There are 2 red wineries and 2 white. And this is across all of the 7 regions that you play with, or up to 9 regions if you're playing the full player game. Okay. Right? You can only take whatever is on top. So that there is a white wine or a white, wine winery vineyard that you could buy, but it's currently the red one is on top. And you're looking at your vineyard, all of your vineyards going, I already have 3 red vineyards in front of me. I don't want to buy any of this other stuff. Everyone else can go, well, you can't buy from vineyard 2, region 2, because you've already got one and you can't have another red one. So there's a couple of rubs. There's a couple of little things in terms but there is ways of really being able to stomp your friends in a way of realizing if they've mismanaged what they're trying to get, you can go, well, he needs a white wine vineyard and there's none of them available. I'm just not going to buy anything. I'm ahead of you.
So and you can stop your opponents like stomping grapes.
Yeah. And so there becomes a lot of this stuff of like going, that was brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
There becomes a lot of this stuff where even in a 2-player game, we were like, this is going to be, it was very tight, But I could see this again. This is one of those heavier games that I think Lacerda is very good at going. The more players you actually have,
Yeah, the better.
But
I imagine it's a
the
game.
tighter it would become. Yeah.
I imagine it's a very big game. It has a lot of table space that goes along
Yeah.
with it.
yeah.
Did
yeah.
it play for very long, considering those
90
24
minutes.
actions
Not-
in the entire game?
90 minutes. So, I mean, we played on Mars, and on Mars is 3.5 hours.
Oh, on Mars is a long game.
It's a long game.
Yeah.
This is not like that. This is-
Fantastic game. But a
yeah,
long
yeah,
game.
yeah.
It was-
This is a third of that.
It was 2.25 with the teach.
So you can get through a bottle of wine.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you won't be completely tanked at the end of it. So.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, but if you get a chance to play this game, look, it is a heavier game, yes, but I never felt like I was over. Hey, get down! Sorry, my dog has decided he's a table dog.
I'm glad
today.
you clarified it wasn't Ralph.
Sorry,
Jumped on the
look,
table.
my dog has decided tonight he's a table. Again, you got to go to the YouTube
damn.
channel. What are you? You've never done
Goosey.
this. What is going on,
Goosey.
dog? Yeah, just push him down. He's
Once
fine.
the
I'm trying. He's heavy.
Goose, go away. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Go.
I'll give him some attention.
Go,
It's all
go to your couch. Go to your doggerman over there. If you want to see Goose, our mascot, he's been here since day one, but he's never jumped on. He's jumped up twice. This is the first-
Twice. He just wants.
Yeah.
To, he
You
just
know
wants
what?
a
I
lot of
think
attention.
he's just decided tonight that you two are his best friends, and he wants to be a part of whatever
I'm
is going
fine
on.
with
Yeah,
that. Goose.
I'm okay.
Anyway, but that was Vinhos. That's by
Maybe he wants wine.
Maple. God, let's not get my dog drunk, all right? Anyway, but that was Vinhos. We really enjoyed that.
Sounds great.
I cannot wait to play that again. I had a problem with viticulture. Look, I liked viticulture. Had some issues with the worker placement stuff. Vinhos basically took everything that I didn't like about that game and just went. It's a different game. It's a different game mechanics, but it is, in my opinion, my favorite wine
Well,
game.
do we
at
want
the
to talk about viticulture for a few minutes?
Look, I don't know because I don't
I have
know.
issues with that game.
No, I don't want people.
I do
to,
want
no.
to say it's a fantastic introductory
Yes.
to the worker placement genre.
Yes.
Okay. I prefer Lords of Waterdeep to show people, or Architects of the West Kingdom to
Yeah.
show people that type of mechanic.
Yep.
Especially Lords of Waterdeep because it gives you incentives to play a little differently during the game. Architects is a bit open ended, but look, for me, I'm a bigger board gamer. Vinhos sounds fantastic to me. I probably wouldn't jump into viticulture unless I'm playing with someone that I want to welcome into it.
Well,
you know?
and this is the thing. So viticulture, I enjoyed it for what it offers. I do think it can be a bit convoluted with a couple of things. I don't want to talk down it because I actually really enjoyed viticulture, but it was I sold it, and I also had the Tuscany expansion. The Tuscany expansion really does fix some of the issues that I had with the base game. I really like the way that it kind of does the Terraforming Mars prelude thing, gives you some starting economy,
Oh yeah.
gives you some starting things to work
Sure.
for. But they are, at their core, they are a different game
Yeah.
in the sense that viticulture is a worker placement in the traditional style of worker placement.
Yeah.
Whereas Vinhos is
Bit of a push and pull tug of war. it
very,
sounds
but the
like.
way that the action selection works is you have a single worker and
Yeah.
you have this, and you can get in the way of each other. Whereas in a different way that you
Yeah.
would, and that core mechanic of how you choose your actions.
Yeah. Because viticulture had a thing. Okay, I have these grapes I want to plant, but I can't do that because Nee's there.
But I've also
Um,
used my El Grande worker, so I can't use it.
Yeah,
But whereas Vinhos doesn't stop you. Vinhos just says
It just means
you
you gotta
can,
pay for it.
You can,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
you're gonna
you
you're
pay
gonna
for it.
have to pay for it. And are you willing to pay for it? And
That's
that
right.
is, you never feel like you're stopped from doing something. There was one moment in our game where Damo took the action that I wanted the moment I wanted to take it to.
Classic.
And that was like, he ended up, the score was like 132 to 128. So he only beat me by 4 points. And it turns out that action that he took was the action that won the game because
He's done that stuff
because he
before.
took but he took the point value at the end of game scoring, the one that I wanted to. We were
Yeah.
both kind of eyeing it off, but he pulled the trigger one turn early,
Yeah,
and it ended
nice.
up being the one that got there.
Oh, well
So
done.
tight game, very good action. We really highly enjoyed it and highly rate it. It is hard to get a hands on a copy, but if you can, certainly do that. That was Vinhos. So let's move on from that game. And Ralph, let's go and talk about a game which you have just gotten. We're going to have a chat about a digital game, a digital card roguelike game.
Adaptation,
And
really.
now it has gotten itself the board game adaptation. We're going to talk
Yes.
about Slay the Spire. So for anyone who hasn't heard about it, take it away.
So we spoke about this about a year and a half ago when the Kickstarter was going on.
Yes.
I think it was about a year and a half.
You
or
also
so.
have a video on our YouTube channel of you playing it.
I did
So-
a tabletop simulator version. Now I've got the physical table version, and so does Damien as
Yep.
well. It got delivered maybe a month ago,
Yep.
and I think I've played it maybe 15 times in a month.
Wow. It's real
And
good.
that includes like most of them got to Act 3. I've played a lot of Slay the Spire recently, but essentially it's exactly like the video game. There are some changes, which I'll talk about as well. But Damien, what do you think of the game so far?
I love the game, and so Slay the Spire, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like Nate said, it's a roguelite. So it's you basically are playing through chapters or acts in this case, and you may not finish it. You may just get to a certain point, but whatever
Yeah, you
you
might
get
die
to,
and have to restart,
You
yeah.
might die and have to restart, but you accumulate XP throughout the game, and as you do that, you basically unlock goals in the game, or you unlock you unlock new cards effectively, and those cards could then improve future runs. The thing I love about the game is actually something we spoke about. So going back to what we spoke about in our last episode, we were sort of talking about, in an earlier episode, I should say, we were talking about Arkham Horror versus what was
Earthborn
that?
Rangers.
Earthborn Rangers.
That was in our last episode.
Well, you were saying Earthborn Rangers, what it does, that it gives you a subset of cards. You pick one, add it to your deck. To me, that's one of the best things Slay the Spire does, is that it creates this tension when you say, I'd like to build my deck in a particular way. But every round, every time you beat a certain round, or for most battle types, you will get 3 cards to pick from. Those cards may not lean at all into the deck that you're trying to build. So you have to be really flexible.
Yeah, so I'm quite good at the video game and getting better at the board game.
Just
as I play
cannot beat
Oh,
Act 3. I just cannot beat the
Really?
boss in Act 3. I've come so close.
So essentially, the game, there's 4 unique characters, and they each have a unique starting deck, which is typically not as good as what it will be at the end of the game. And every time you defeat a monster, you go up a little bit on the ladder of the spire that you're trying to escape. And every time you beat a monster, you get presented with either a potion, or most times you get 3 cards to pick from, and you add it to your deck. If you beat a particular type of baddie, like a big boss, you get presented with a relic. And that might be, if I roll a 2 on the dice every round, I'm going to get an extra block, or I might be able to deal some damage, or I might get an energy, or I might get a detriment to my character. So as you get more and more relics, as you get presented with different cards, you start thinking, how do I select a card that complements my character, but also works with the relics I have? So there's a lot of choice, and there's no chance where you look at a card and you go, that's a crap card. Every card is a good card, but what's the best decision for the situation you are in? And that's what makes it a fantastic game.
And you still have all of the typical deck builder tropes. So you are building your deck, but at the same time you are trying not to make the deck too big, because you want to be able to do that. You have opportunities to thin out your deck as well at certain stops. Like at shops, for instance, you can pay a nominal fee and you're allowed to move 1 card out of your deck. There are then some scenarios that will allow you to just remove a card out of your deck.
Events,
things like that.
You can upgrade your cards, which the board game does fantastically as well.
And I will say, look, and the one thing I will say is that I had real reservations over the upgrade system, because for anyone who's played the video game, when you upgrade a card, you just click it and you get and the card is just upgraded. That's it. And
how do they do the upgrade system in this game?
Quite literally, every single card, or almost every single card in the game, will have a sleeve. Okay. And the cards are double-sided.
Right. Okay.
One side is the non-upgraded side, and the other side is the upgraded side.
Okay.
And all you do when you're playing the game, you just flip it over, re-sleeve it. And my concern was resetting the game
at the end of a run. You have to reset everything.
Honestly, it was
less than a minute.
It literally takes a minute to break down a deck, put everything back in the right sections, reset the sleeves, done. And I was shocked. The example that I gave, I think it was Ralph, I think it was you I was talking to, where I was playing with my son and I. We got towards the end of Act 3 and we died. And he said, let's go again.
So the game, aside from the video game, which is typically 1 player unless you play with mods, the board game is up to 4 players. Probably shines best at 2. So you can hit monsters that other players are going up against. You can provide each other blocks. Some cards give you extra energy. So it is a great co-op game as well. You touched that. You said sometimes you might not want to blow out your deck. I recently had a run. Every time you play the game, we call it a run, where I was Ironclad, one of the basic characters, the first one that you start with the game. Favorite. He's easily the introductory character to the game. Because he's got very simple mechanics to him. But I had a mechanic where I had a really good card that exhausted or deleted my entire everything in my hands. So what I did was every opportunity I could, I added cards to my deck so I could burn them. And I had cards that will allow me to draw. So you typically have 5 cards in your hand every round. I had draw cards, so I had like 9 cards, and then I exhaust them all for 2 damage each.
Yeah.
Like it just gets chaotic.
Yeah, I know my son.
yeah.
He built this crazy deck where he had 3 upgraded rare cards. Oh, sorry, not rare. Sorry, epic cards, and
Yeah, they're rare. The yellow ones.
the yellow ones are rare.
Yeah.
Okay, and essentially it was he played 1 card and it allowed him to play the next attack card twice. Oh, sorry. So he played 1 card which gave him 5 strength
because he upgraded it.
Yeah. So he played 5, so it was 5 strength, and then the attack was 11 damage. But he combined that with the card that would allow him that says the next attack would happen twice.
Yeah.
With the 5 strength, it meant he was doing 16 damage. He would then just do 32 damage. The number of times he pulled that off against the boss was just obscene.
I've had times in this the board game in particular, where I'm like, I'm dead. Like I'm late into Act 3. I've had a great run, but I'm dead. I can't see a way out of it. Then I had a relic that was, you can draw the top of the potion stack and buy it if you want, and you can use it in this fight. So I did that. It was the vulnerable one, which is double damage.
Yeah.
And the relic I had that was rolled was, if you roll a 1, the first attack you played is played twice.
Yeah.
So I was like, sweet. So my attack was played twice with the double damage initially, and that one got me through to the next fight, and then I could rest, and I won the like, it's just, they've nailed the feel.
Oh, they have, yeah. Honestly, the board game has the same feeling as the video game, but it's only improved because you get to play it co-op with someone.
I was going to say that
would,
sounds like it'd be one of those things that I have not yet.
We'll have a run together. I've been playing a lot solo. I've set it up in the corner of my house. I've set up all 3 act decks. They don't get packed away, so I can beat Act 1 within 10 minutes. Set up Act 2 within a minute, and off I go.
Yeah,
and like I can have a whole 3-act run in say 40 minutes or so.
That's good.
I've unlocked everything I can. Now I'm trying to. I've got the Burning Elite in there, and now I'm trying to take on the Heart on Act 4. And I got really close today. I got really close today.
What I really like about Slay the Spire in general, though, which you touched on, which is that it's not a deck builder in the traditional sense. It has the tropes, but it's not. You can't just go, all right, well, I want to build this deck and try and run through.
You can't.
What I really do like, especially as well when you're at the shops, is that you go, well, if I'm at the shop, I can spend money to remove cards from my deck, which is an important part of deck building, like getting rid of the sludge. But the shops only allow you to do that once. And the other thing about which we haven't really touched on is that in a run of Slay the Spire, there's actually multiple tracks. So you choose your entry point.
Yeah.
And then you actually then have basically a randomized selection of tracks that you're going up the thing. Is that present in the game? Like,
it is, yes.
To an extent.
The whole thing's there.
The whole thing's there. So
no, but I mean, like, is there, like, do you pick a random, like, track that you
random.
can...
It's random in the sense that there are a few pre-printed whether it be monsters or elements on each
like
act.
in Act 1 you get a relic for free.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. But what they have is that they'll have a series of tokens that you put out upside down.
Okay.
It's random.
And it's entirely randomized, and then you just flip them all over. Now, at the beginning of a run, yes, I think there are 4 paths at the bottom. It starts off. I think
there's
something like that.
Typically it branches to 4
so
areas.
it starts off with 1
and they
fight.
do crisscross.
Yeah, so it starts off with 1 fight, and then it branches off to 4. But so you can begin to plan your path.
Yeah, because you can be like, I want to go through here.
You plan it on the fly. Sometimes, if you really think about your path, is the difference of winning the game.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's because, like, you'd be going, well, I need money, so to buy cards from the shop or to have things.
So why do I want to go to the shop?
But the only way that you can get money is by defeating monsters. So you need to go plan my route of like, well, I don't know if I really want to fight an elite at this stage, so maybe I'll go around him, but behind the elite. And this is why it's really interesting, because the actual game itself provides you with, not only do I need to make decisions about my deck, I need to actually make decisions about my run. I need to make decisions about what is the items that are getting presented to me and how can I make best use of it. And I've been playing a lot of it digitally since it came to your door, and I'm like, I forgot how good this is. It is so good.
It's endlessly replayable because the ceiling is as high as you want it to be. I'm currently, so in the video game, you work through ascension levels, and essentially there's 20 ascension levels with each character, and ups the difficulty every time. So I've beaten Ascension 20 with one character. I'm close to it with a couple of others, but in the board game, it's got I think 13 or 12 Ascension levels.
That's good.
I'm currently on the third one with every character.
Sweet.
But it is tough.
Yeah, it gets really hard. Like,
I'm really struggling.
We were playing Ascension 1, Ironclad, and Silent, and we got to the beginning of Act 3.
Yeah.
And we died. And it's subtle. I think that one is just like all bosses have +1 strength. I think it's...
No, you replace the bosses with different bosses.
Yes,
so they do different things.
Okay, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
This
and they have
is
different health.
This is the other
like
thing
that.
as well.
Yeah.
So when you're playing this deck builder as well, every fight with a monster, the monsters actually have intentions of what they're about to do.
Yeah.
So on your turn, you can see what this monster is about to do on their turn, whether or not they're going to do a debuff, if they're going to attack, if they're going to
I
something.
do find it funny how they didn't put that relic in the board game where you can take it to get an extra energy, but you can't see what the enemies are doing. I imagine you're just playing the board game with your eyes closed at that point.
Yeah, it could be one of those things. So, but there are a few things like that. So the game does give you that strategy. They can go, okay, I know he's about to smack me for 11, so I need to either get block, which allows you to obviously block their incoming damage. I need to get a few things that allow me the options of, like am I going to soak the damage? Do I just want to keep hitting?
What's really cool, just like the video game, the board game, you can die from just a bad draw.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Honestly, like I've had a deck that just bricked, and
it had a great time.
I had a fantastic time, but it's like the deck just bricked.
So you need to have a balance.
Yeah,
and some counter.
And it's funny. So anyone who's listening to this, that they basically heard said it's a deck builder, not a deck builder, but you don't get to really choose the direction of your deck. And it's kind of random, and it seems really.
You know what
silly.
I've used.
I'll say this is where the relics. For me, the relics are what make the game.
Oh, for sure.
Slay the Spire, because the relics are true rule breakers in every sense of the word.
Yeah, they give you buffs.
Some relics are far better than others, but all relics are good, and they're always situational. Yeah. Like for instance, where you said the one relic that allows you to draw the top potion, I had that exact same scenario as the Silent, except I drew Fairy in a bottle. At a point where I was going to die. It's like there was nothing I could do. It was the ultimate Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Drew Fairy in a bottle, and for anyone who hasn't played the game, Fairy in a bottle, when you die, you basically get half your health back.
Yeah. Well, you only get 2 in the board game, which is still really good.
So you get some of your health back, but that was important because the important thing for me wasn't how much health I was going to get back. It was I'm around for one more turn, and I needed one more turn for all of the poison that I had applied onto the enemies to take effect.
I do want to say on the relics, I had a really good run where I had a card out as Ironclad where every time I get block, I deal 2 damage, like to any enemy. And I had relics that gave me block for like just every turn. So I was like, all right, every round I was dealing out 6 for doing nothing. It was fantastic.
And I'll say, look, the designers of the game, how they've randomized things just with the D6 is brilliant.
It's great. It works so good.
And that's also opened up. So there are a couple of relics like
the die manipulation.
Yeah, die manipulations like Gambler's Brew is just reroll the die kind of thing.
One's a +1 or a -1.
Yeah. Look,
but what's really cool about
done such a good job.
There's some relics that do a +1 or -1, but the wording, it doesn't say in a combat. It says in it once per room.
Yeah.
So if you're in an event and the event says roll a die, if you get a 5, you get a curse, which is a bad card. But you can manipulate that die to be something positive for you, which is really well, it makes that relic even more powerful.
We have to play.
But
I'm sure we'll get an actual in-person let's play this onto the channel. So
before I wrap up, I'll talk about just some key differences between the video game and the board game.
Yep.
Because there's probably some people that might see the board game on the used market. If someone wants to sell it or something, it typically happens with Kickstarters as well. But this is quite a good one. Each character has some differences. So the Silent, Damien mentioned poison. Poison is you apply poison to an enemy and every round they're going to take that damage. In the video game, poison decreases. In the board game, it does not.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It is capped to 30 poison, though.
It can be broken. Like the first build that I had, I leaned so heavily, and I got the cards to back it up.
Yeah.
It was crazy how quickly I was able to just build up poison.
Good. They did change a lot of the cards as well to work for the board game.
Yes.
But you get used to that really quickly.
Yeah.
with the max poison of 30, if you're versing multiple enemies, you can still only dish out 30 poison. It's token limited. The shivs, they're not endless. You only can work with 5 shivs.
Yep.
I think that's the only thing for the defect. For the Watcher,
What about anger? Is anger?
Anger's in there. So the way anger works, normally in the video game, you cost 0. I think
hit someone, draw another anger, and add it to your deck.
Yeah, put another card, the
into your
exact same
discard
card
pile.
into your discard
It's
pile.
going into a rage, and you just can start playing a whole bunch of just whacking people with it.
They've done a great job with anger, and I had a great anger run today. Where if you play it, it goes to the top of your deck.
Oh, okay.
But then you pair that with a card like Warcry, which allows you to draw it again.
Yeah.
so there's combinations to have. So they've done a great job with that. Strength with Ironclad, it's max of 8 as well. And it works the exact same way. It just gives you a +1 to every hit.
Yeah.
The Watcher, which is a really cool character where she has stances. So the rare stance in the video game means you can deal double damage, but you're also going to take some extra damage.
Double damage.
Yeah, so it gives you a +1 to all your attacks, which is huge for the board game, but it just means you also get hit once at the end, which you can easily counter that with a block.
Okay.
And I think that was about it.
Defect.
Defect.
You can
hugely different.
Yeah, so defect in the video game, when you basically use whatever orb, you have to use the orb that's at the front
next slot.
That's in the front slot.
Yep.
In the board game, you can use any
you can
orb,
evoke any of the 3 orbs you have.
that you have.
And dark orbs are different. You know, they don't constantly accumulate power, but if you play power cards, that actually increases your dark orbs.
Dark orbs are still really
You
strong.
could still have fantastic decks with the defect by adding power cards to your deck, which is just fantastic. But it's risky because if you don't get the block at the right moment, you're going to die straight away.
Look, I will say we are talking a lot of in-depth of what this game is. And for people who've never played Slay the Spire, you'll be going, I don't understand what any of this means. I highly recommend, if you want to check out the game, actually go to either like Steam or Good Old Games, GOG.com.
It's on sale on Steam right now.
Actually, probably it wouldn't surprise me. But I would recommend, if you don't know if this is a game that you think you would like, buy it off of Steam. If you don't like it within 2 hours, get the refund.
It's on everything. It's on the phone.
Yeah, it's on. But it is such a catchy game. It's one of these games that you'll do one run, you'll be like, I don't know, and then you just do it again. You're like, wait a minute, I forgot something. And the moment you beat your first boss, you beat Act 1, you'll be hooked. I guarantee.
So excited when I beat Act 3 the first time. I was like,
I can imagine it'd be great. So look, it's one of those games that we're not going to spend too much time on it anymore, but if we will do a let's play of this game, and we will definitely.
I do have the TTS version online, which is pretty much the same now. They changed a bit since then. That was over a year.
We changed a lot of the cards.
Yeah,
some
a lot
of the cards
changed. They did announce the video game Slay the Spire 2, which I'm quite excited for. It comes out in 2025.
Fantastic.
I'm very curious if they're going to release a whole nother board game after it.
I think it'll be a ways away.
Probably just a whole bunch of character packs. Probably.
But the thing is, it's all new enemies, new relics. Like I think it'll be a whole new box.
It'll be a whole new game, and the thing is,
and we'll be there to play it all when it comes out.
And this board game took a while to come out, and I know there were some people who were quite critical about it, but when you open up the box and see how many cards are in there,
that's huge.
The amount of playtesting this thing must have gone through, has to boggle the mind.
I was part of the Discord, and I wasn't very active in the Discord, I'll admit, but there was people every day constantly playtesting the game and giving feedback. So, you know, that all contributed to a fantastic game because fans loved the Slay the Spire series. They would love to see the board game work, which is fantastic because that it does.
Fantastic.
So, highly recommend give this a go.
Highly recommend. So there you go. That was Slay the Spire, one of the new games that have come out this year and made it to our shores. So we're going to go from one of the new hotnesses in a card game to one of the old hotnesses that was in a card game that is actually now discontinued but being kept alive by the community in the sense. But Damien, we're going to have you have just started to make a commitment, even though you were giving me crap about potentially making a commitment into Android Netrunner. Tell us about why you've started to buy it and what we can expect from this.
Because I'm a sucker for a card game.
Yeah, we know.
So basically, anyone who's listened to the podcast before and heard me talk about it, I'm like a Magic and Pokemon player from back in the day, but those systems are fraught with danger, and because they require a huge amount of money to keep
financial investment. Yeah.
Android Netrunner was an attempt by
Fantasy Flight.
Fantasy Flight, but more importantly by the same designer of Magic the Gathering.
Was it Garfield?
Richard Garfield.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Oh, the King of Tokyo guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he worked with Fantasy Flight, I believe it was in 2012, and they developed Netrunner. And Netrunner was an attempt to create a living card game that would compete with the collectible card games, particularly Magic at the time. And Pokemon. Pokemon at the time still had some market share. And the premise of the game is pretty simple. You would buy a box that would actually come with effectively 2 decks of cards, but enough cards to modify those decks. One person plays a corporation, so an evil corporation that who is trying to get points from
Google on
agendas.
steroids, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. And the other player is a hacker. And the goal of the hacker is to try and interrupt these agendas that the corporation is trying to build up. And if the hacker can successfully interrupt the agenda, they get the points from the agenda instead of the corporation. And ultimately, it's the first one to 7 points wins.
7. I was going to say
7. Wow.
7. It's really it's
some of the
crazy.
agendas. Most of the agendas are either worth 1, 2. The big ones are worth like 3 or 4,
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
3 points.
Yeah,
So-
right, I didn't realize that.
And so the way the way a particular round occurs is if you're the corporation, you are putting down you're playing cards into either starting up what's called new remote servers. So remote server is where you play your agendas.
Basically, just playing cards in front of you.
Yes,
That's your remote
But
server.
you're
I'm spinning
playing
up
it. You're playing it face down, almost Yu-Gi-Oh style for anyone who's
So
played
that's your trap card.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Basically,
Mm.
yes. But
because I can lay little malware traps for the runner
Exactly
if
right.
they come in. If the runner
Oh,
makes
really?
so if
Yes.
the runner makes a hack against one of my servers and I've just left it wide open, maybe they'll go, is that an agenda or is that a malware trying to sucker me in?
yeah. So what Nate is saying is that in front of your agenda cards, you play what's called ice, and what these ice cards are, they're effectively firewalls. Okay. Now you play.
Getting all nerdy up in this
Why
board
don't you
game.
just call them firewalls?
I don't know.
Because it's set in this world called like the
That's a
Netrunner.
Yeah,
cyberpunk
exactly.
type
Yeah,
world.
it's
Okay,
a it's
alright.
it, the
Yes.
I believe it's called the Android world, or like it's sort of like
I'm
distance.
just thinking cyberpunk.
Yeah,
RPG,
basically,
video
it's just
game.
basically
it
that's
is
what
the cyberpunk world now. And the reason why you play these types of ice is because the ice protects your servers that you are trying to progress.
Mm.
Some of the kickers in the game. If you're the corporation, you have a hand size of 5.
And you get more actions or something.
Yeah. No, you actually get fewer actions as
fewer.
the
The
corporation.
runner, yeah.
So the runner gets 4 actions per turn. Corporation only gets 3.
Okay.
And the corporation is required to draw a card every turn. The reason why that's important is because if the corporation decks out, they immediately lose.
Oh, so that's the clock.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing as well is when you are playing the corporation, even your hand can be attacked. So you have to play cards to protect your hand, your deck, and your discard pile, as well as
It's really cool. So
any
they,
remote
that's
servers
clever.
that
they
you want.
they refer to you in front of you. The cards you play as the remote servers.
Yeah.
They refer to your deck as the HQ.
Yep.
They refer to your discard pile as the archives.
Yeah.
And they refer to your hand as something else.
Research.
Or your research, because you've got this in your hand, right? So basically, you as the
Cool.
runner, you get to choose where you're going to make a run.
So they really
So-
made it thematic. Through
Yeah,
that.
and so
They have,
yeah.
I can not only play firewalls in front of my remote servers, I can play a firewall in front of my deck.
Yeah.
So because the thing is, if you make a run at my deck
Yeah.
and you lift the top card and you get to see what that card is,
Mhm.
I don't.
Yeah.
Unless it is successfully you have made a run at my deck and you found an agenda, in which case
You
you've
get
been
the
like
points,
you
yeah.
get the points.
Or,
so you
or if the card is an event card or a research card,
Yeah.
because then what you can do, cards will also have a value on them, with like a garbage can symbol. If you can pay
pay
in
money,
credits,
F it off.
you just trash the card straight away. So the corporation will never get access to
And
that
they,
card.
they won't know
Did
what
they
it is.
see what it is?
They
No,
can
they
say
don't.
it
Oh,
goes
once
to
it goes to the archives, they
it's
can see.
discard, but they
But
can.
Now, as the hacker, you can also we've talked a lot about what the corporation can do.
It's
And
nice
now,
for the hacker to archive it for.
well,
Yeah,
the
sure.
hacker does the main thing that they're going to do is running, right? But before they make runs, they may need to upgrade themselves. And it's very cyberpunk. So, you know, you've got like, I'm going to add in a neural implant that lets me bypass one set of ice of this particular thing if I come up against it.
That's the important type, is that every bit of ice or every fireball has a certain type associated to it, and the hacker has to have the right countermeasure for that type of ice. That's right. And like Nate said, is that you've got limited space. You start off with 4 memory slots. Okay, and that's 4 value memory slots. As you upgrade your deck, there are some big pieces. There are some larger pieces.
Upgrade your deck, like.
As in, it's like, look, because there is
it's deck construction, right? So you make your deck before you play the game.
That's right.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Basically, Arkham Horror style. I have a set amount of cards, and also the thing is,
champions is the
you
same.
also like if I'm picking, for example, one of the corporations called Jinteki. It means I'm this specific sort of corporation. I'm only allowed to use these cards.
Oh no, they've changed that.
Oh, they have changed it. Oh, it used to be as
it's all open, is it?
Well, it's there is a depending on the type. I believe it's got to do with the type of competitions that you may enter. Because again, this
Yu-Gi-Oh is the same.
Yeah. So there will be different rules for different competitions, but in general, you are not restricted to that anymore.
That's
it used to be like that. Used to be you were only. It used to be.
Then they realized they can sell more cards.
but the thing is, though, you are incentivized to use more cards to that synergize with that particular hero.
Right. So the main thing as well, though, as you said, Damien, at the start of this, which is unlike Magic, where you would buy an 8-card booster set or 12-card booster set and try and then do that. When they released new cards or new sets, you bought every card in that set. Now it meant that you would pay $50 or whatever,
everything,
but you got every single card from that set.
That's fun.
And now everyone, so it meant that you had
Arkham's
to.
the same.
It's a very Fantasy Flight model with Arkham, right? Buy the new set, get the new cards, right? But you get the new cards. It did mean that if you wanted to buy everything Android Netrunner, it was looking $300 plus Australian dollars to get all of the cards. But I know people who go into a Friday Night Magic, drop $150 and buy an entire box of Magic things.
We've been there where someone dropped almost $1,000
just to buy brand like,
boxes.
Yeah, on boxes, right? And so it's like, you know, are you doing it for the collecting purpose or are you doing it for the game?
Well,
no, but that's what I mean, and that's what Android Netrunner and Richard Garfield really tried to do. He goes, I don't want people to feel like they have to collect every card or find these ultra rare cards. I want to make a game that everyone has access to, and who can make the best theme deck. And at competitions, you actually need to make 2 decks. You need to make one as a corporation and one as a hacker, and it's always back.
That's cool. And just this last thing, so going back to the hacker, your goal is to try and get and try and reveal these agendas. But the other thing you're doing as well is that you have to protect yourself. So your hand size is also 4, and the other way that you can lose is that if the corporation does damage to you, there's 3 types of damage in the game, but the truth is there's only really 2. There's meat, there's net, and there's brain damage. Okay.
Meat, like physical damage.
Physical damage.
Okay. So I've come in and I bashed you over the head.
That's right. Every time you take damage,
the goon squad is coming, charging down your door.
Every time you take damage, you have to trash a card out of your hand at random. And brain damage means that your hand size reduces. Okay. Until you can heal yourself.
Cool.
If at any point you take so much damage that you cannot discard any cards, you flatline. You're dead. And the way you would take damage is when you approach pieces of ice against the corporation, you have to be able to defeat it. Not only do you have to have, not only does your countermeasure have to be at least of the same level of strength and have to be of the same type, you then need to have the credits and the other resources required to go through and beat each of the individual pieces of countermeasure on this card. More expensive cards will have more subroutines that you'll have to defeat. Okay. And if you cannot defeat those subroutines,
take damage.
You will likely take damage.
It sounds like a really intricate card game.
It is. It's very, but
it's also a bit of a bluffing game.
Yeah,
because you're putting cards face down.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so that's
you can have a remote server with no ice in front of it just to try and bait them into it, but that could be your,
And
your
absolutely.
money.
Or you could have something in front of it that has 3 pieces of
That's
ice
right,
in
and it's
front of it,
nothing.
and it could be nothing,
And
right?
as a corporation, you have action cards that actually have the word progress on it. So you can progress the card as an action, making it seem like it's an agenda. And then the hacker reveals it and it's actually a trap.
Yeah, okay. And you
so
have like only 3 actions or 4 actions.
Exactly right.
Do the hackers, if I'm required, they actually have to spend an action to draw. Is that correct?
That's right.
So
yes.
whereas the corporation
They have to
always
draw.
draw, so they want to
Yeah,
try
but they get a
up.
special. They get
Exactly
the
right.
extra
Yeah.
action.
But so, and that's the other thing, which is, Damien, we haven't really talked about it, and we won't talk about it for long. But the other main thing about it is, as we said, we only have 3 action. Some actions may cost 2 ticks of so they're called ticks because
ticks
they're
or clicks.
Clicks.
I thought they were ticks.
Yeah, clicks.
No,
Ticks are
anyway.
in your head. The
Yeah,
clicks.
so it's the same thing. But essentially, you have the little clock, and there are actions where it'd be like, "Hey, draw a card."
Yeah.
That's one click.
Yeah.
But then there may be an action where it's like, "Do this." That costs you 2.
Yeah, that's
so you have to determine, and whereas the hacker is also doing things of like, "Oh, I've got 4 actions,
Yeah.
but my hand size are getting really low." So you, as a corporation, could see,
And
I think
that's
they're
your
gonna, I
health,
think they're gonna
so-
draw.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they may have to draw. So therefore,
They
I've
can
got
draw
to
multiple times.
I've got
They
to
can-
turn.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and also just like with Arkham and just like with Champions, Marvel Champions, you get cards that will give you free actions. You will get cards that
Draw 2,
will
3.
will synergize with other cards and
Yeah.
things like that. And that's what makes the game great, in my opinion, is that once you get through that first game, the learning game, the game's brilliant. Once you get through 3 games and you start really building your own deck, it just gets even better.
There
And-
are a lot of free tools online at the moment that you can do to actually try this game out. Now, I don't necessarily recommend them. I've tried playing a couple of times. It is fun, but I do think, again, you need to play it with someone. The game, however, so we are talking about it now because Fantasy Flight have discontinued creating the game. So there's no more new content. They've officially said they're done with it. So trying to find the original Android Netrunner stuff is really hard to do. So now
also a bad idea.
it is a bad idea because it costs you a lot of money. But there is Damo, as there is the fan.
So
thing, which-
what there is now is that there is a community group called Null Signal Games, and what they actually have done is that they've released not only the original cards, but they've actually taken the original cards with the expansions, combined that with fan feedback. So as the game started to die, there were certain cards and there were certain expansions that people believed imbalanced the game. So to counter that, what they've actually done is they have released what's called System Gateway, which is the original Netrunner game, but tweaks. So balancing tweaks and other minor improvements. It is open source. It is entirely free. If you want to print these cards yourself, you download the files. They will tell you how many to print and what to print. You go to wherever your printing station is, Officeworks or wherever, and you can have the cards printed and cut for yourself, or you can pay this community organization and they will get the cards printed and sent out to you.
And it's on a per buy basis. So
Yes.
basically, you buy it. They don't really keep a lot of them on. They don't keep any of them on stock. I don't believe it's basically.
It's very, very little stock.
Yeah, they don't, maybe like 10 at max or something like. But I know it's basically you purchase, and we basically are going to make you a whole brand new copy
And
from it. So they've got.
At this point, I believe they have all of the Netrunner expansions also redone, and they are releasing more content.
They've got their own custom content.
Creating more. It's homebrew content.
It's homebrew.
Essentially, it's homebrew content, but because the game is now.
Community's all okay with that.
Well,
They're more than okay with it. There are competitions happening around the world now. Fantasy Flight games seem to be okay because even though this is known as Netrunner in many ways, it's not Android Netrunner. It's it has the Null Signal or Nisei branding all over it now. But the game is the same game.
It is the same game. But Fantasy Flight have essentially gone, they're not making it anymore. They have no one, at any point, they have never actually trodden on the Fantasy Flight game.
So
They've
does that
actually.
mean they don't have the license anymore?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know enough about the licensing rules, but I wouldn't imagine.
Confusing.
I wouldn't imagine licensing as an issue because this isn't known as Android Netrunner.
No, it's not.
Android was
I
the
know.
IP.
Android is essentially like when we say
like Star Wars or something.
Star
like
Wars.
that.
Yeah. What I was thinking more like Lovecraft.
Or like
Yeah.
a mobile
Android
phone.
is like it's like
Yeah.
Discworld, Android,
Yeah, right.
Lovecraft, right?
So-
Android is that world,
Yeah.
and Netrunner was just their game.
Was the game.
But now
It's kind of like when you go to Fairfield Markets and get some rip-off Pokemon cards
Yeah,
or
pretty
something.
much.
isn't
I
it?
know. I understand. And I will say that was a concern I had when
Yeah.
I first checked this out, because I thought, all right, this is going to be like some open source thing, and
It'll be like, Pikachu use flamethrower.
yeah, it's like I love the open source community, and I love the stuff they're doing. But like, for instance, I've played some of the open source factions for Gaia Project, and they were terrible. There were people who raved on about it, but they were imbalanced. They
Yeah,
were
I'm sure they're fun. Though.
broken. They were
Yeah.
fun, but it wasn't in the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
But no, look, Null Signal have done a brilliant job.
I'd highly
Yeah.
recommend go and check
Yeah.
out Tom's review from Startup. We recommend them all the time, but the truth is, Tom from Startup and Sit Down did a half-an-hour video on just this subject of
Yeah.
Null Signal.
on Null Signal.
Oh, really?
Highly recommend go watch it if you are got any interest in wanting to maybe pick up an Android.
So,
I didn't before I watched that video and went, crap.
so I always knew this is a game I'll be interested in. I watched you play half a game at CanCon
Yeah.
as well. It looked
Yeah.
great. How long does a game typically go for?
So once you know how to play the game,
Yeah.
about 20 minutes.
Oh, that's really quick. So
It's
snap.
I
really
lost
quick.
the game in 8 minutes once.
Yeah,
I'm sure I can lose it in 2 if I
yeah,
really
and-
try.
And that's the thing, if you don't protect, that's the thing, as a
Yeah.
corporation, if you don't protect yourself, this game can be over like that.
Like
Yeah,
for
it's
instance,
just the right
so,
draw on the other side of the
exactly
table.
right. So it's not uncommon for so corporation will go first, and then it's the hacker's turn. But because the corporation's only got 3 actions,
It's just a setup, really.
it's a setup. If the
Yeah.
corporation happens to be holding an agenda in their hand because they weren't comfortable enough using an action, playing the agenda face down, and then using a second action to play a piece of ice in front of it because they didn't have the cards, they've gone, well, you know what? I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to hold 5 cards in my hand, and if the hacker comes after me, then the hacker comes after me.
They have to
really
pick.
good-
They have to
That's
pick
the-
one at random.
That's
to bring
right.
in.
And it's not uncommon for the hacker to go, well, I'm going to go after your hand. And they've got a 1 in 5 pick, and they happen to pick the agenda card. It happens, and it's just...
And you can't reveal that if
And
you're the corporation, because then you're like, now they know I don't have any more.
No, but if they make a run at your hand and they pick the agenda, they score.
They score
That's
it
what so they'll
immediately.
score. So if I had 5 cards in my hand and you somehow pick the 1 in 5 that's going to
Yeah,
give you points,
it
I
happens.
can't be like, oh, if you picked any other card,
Yeah.
like, I can't say that because
No,
otherwise you
you
wouldn't
can't.
try and
But
attack
also,
it
what
again.
if you had 3 agendas in your hand?
Oh, it's a bluffing
Which
game.
can
I
happen.
guess,
Which
yeah.
can happen,
It has
right?
to be a
So,
bluffing game.
Anyway, look, we could talk about again. We could have talked about Slay the Spire for an extra 20 minutes easily. We can talk about Android Netrunner for another half an hour easily.
it's
But
just
we need
Netrunner.
to move on
It's
because
just
we are
Android.
about to run. But look, we as you can tell, we have the new audio system that we're trialing out here. We have realized
I
it's
forgot we're recording to be
well,
honest.
no, yeah. Look, it is opening us up to a whole bunch of other things, and we are actually been enjoying doing a lot of Let's Plays. This is one of those things that you can expect us to be doing a whole bunch of things of come in the future. So we're looking forward to doing that. Make sure you like and subscribe down below to make sure you don't miss out on this content. But Damo, thank you so much for telling us about this game.
Also,
I'm super keen to play
I'm
it.
not thanking you because now I'm going to have to buy this.
I'm super thankful for him because now I don't have to buy it. 'Cause he needs
It's
people to
true.
play with.
Yeah, that's
So he
true.
can just bring it over and we'll just play it. Right, that was Android Netrunner by Richard Garfield, released in, I believe,
King of Tokyo guy.
I think it's
2012.
2012. Yeah.
2012, around that, early
Did
2012.
he do Smash Up
Now-
as well? Is that him?
No, he did Keyforge as well.
Keyforge, yeah.
Keyforge, there you
He
go.
loves his card
Which
games.
got hacked.
Yeah.
Got hacked. Also, just didn't take off like he was hoping it to. But that's right. He tried.
It took off well, but anyways,
tried
that's just the whole story.
That's a whole other thing. Anyway, look, let's get into our last topic for the night, which is our gateway game of the week. This week, we talked about it in the past couple of episodes. We talked about it in our B3GD review episode. We also mentioned it last week when Damo brought it, but we never actually talked about what the game was
it's
and
never been
why
a
it's a lot of
gateway.
fun. And we needed to make sure that we actually said that this was our gateway
The
game
world
of the week.
needs to know what this game is.
This game
Yeah.
is Paku Paku, is published by Ravensburger.
So
It
good they
came out
named it
in
twice.
2017. It is such a great game. It has, as Damien would say, it has no right to be this fun.
It
So
has no
Damien,
right.
take them through very quickly. Give me the elevator pitch for what Paku Paku is and why it's our gateway game
Alright.
of the week.
Paku Paku, you are rolling dice. You are hoping you roll green happy pandas, but you will likely roll red dishes. And then you are fighting with your friends at the table to stack said dishes in a stack that you do not knock over. Invariably, you will knock it over, and then you'll have to roll dice for points. And first to 10 points, losers.
That's
Cockroach
very
Poker style.
Ravensburger, isn't it? Cockroach Poker, that's not a hat. They love their games where it's like there's only one loser and not multiple winners. They love that.
So basically, I literally explained the whole game. And
he's not lying.
And the rub of the game, though, is that you are, or everyone at the table is taking actions at the same time.
Rolling dice, essentially.
Real-time game.
Asynchronously.
Asynchronously, yes. So, for anyone who wants to know that joke, go watch our Let's Play.
Yeah, we will have a Let's Play of Paku Paku coming live.
You'll see that Damien struggles with English. So, and so because everyone's rolling dice at the same time and stacking plates and taking these different actions, the rules are in many ways very, very fast and loose. So because it is real time, if two people roll up the red dish symbol and they have to stack plates at the same time, you may want to get in there before your opponent does, because maybe they're putting a cup and the cups are a pain in the bum.
Or Ralph put it upside down because Ralph
is that type of person.
I actually didn't do it in any game.
So, and this is the other thing, again, because the rules are a little fast and loose, there's no hard rules as to how you stack the dishes. They just need to stack.
Cool.
Upside down, sideways.
They're very little as well. You see here, like really, really little.
I know the Greeks are getting excited.
Yeah. And then finally, if you happen to knock over the stack, or depending on the player count, you end up with too many dice in front of you, the round immediately ends, and whoever calls the round to end has to roll those dice in front of them. The dice also have a 1 value and a 2 value on them as well. Oh. It's at that point where the 1 and 2 value sides matter. When you roll those dice after ending the round, whatever values you roll up, you take those in points. First, whoever ends up with 10 points first loses, and that's it.
So I think there was a time where I had all 4 dice and I had to roll all 4 dice at the end of that round. And I somehow came out with 5 points, and that was so punishing.
Well, we started. You'll see it in the Let's Play that we started the game, and I was too slow because we all were rolling the dice in real time at the same time. And Damien just went, "Oh no, you have 4 dice in front of you. That's too many dice." And I totally did. I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I have to roll those." But the game itself is so incredibly simple. But because you're rolling dice and you're like, "Well, I've got 2 green symbols on here. Surely I'll get a green symbol. Why is there no green symbol? Why is there no green symbol?" Or you'll roll 3 dice and they all go 3, and then you just pass them on to the next player, and they're like, "What?" And everyone starts lose. Like,
I love how it plays to 8 players.
Yes.
I think I've played this as 5 players, and there's moments where you don't have a die in front of you and you're just sitting back, you're watching it, everything's relaxing for you, everyone else is stressed, you're fine. And then you get 1 or 2 dice in front of it and it's on. Everyone's watching you just try and roll these dice.
I do highly recommend this game at 4. I think it's we played it at 4 at B3GD after 10 hours of gaming. We were in tears of laughter this game. And as Damien would, as we said, you look at this and go, yeah, all right, where's the game? The game just comes from these little micro moments of, there are 3 different sorts of plates. There's a flat dish, there's a proper semicircle bowl, and then you've got these weird like teacup looking things, right? And they are designed in a way that they don't want to stack. They don't want to stack, but you've got to make it stack.
It's like when you get a new dishwasher.
But not only do I have to make it stack, I have to make it stack fast enough so that someone doesn't pass me the dang dice.
Yeah.
But there are funny moments that come through. This is a very light game. You'd play it. This is your opener for the night. This is such a great game to break the ice with everyone, to get the dice rolling, to get the good times flowing. And not only, it's great with kids. Because kids, all you have to do is say, roll dice. Did you roll a red? Put a cup on. And they'll just start freaking out. Or they would love, I know my daughter Genevieve, she would love rolling a green and passing me dice and go, suck it, Dad, you've got too many dice.
Also, it's a really great pub game. It's the sort of game you could easily take to the pub and
definitely.
Just sit at it and just play it, because it doesn't consume a lot of space.
No, it's like one of these micro games as well. The box size is very, very small.
Oh yeah, and the box is super generous. The box even doesn't need to be that big.
No, you can definitely condense
it. It's only that big, so I think they'd have a hard time marketing it on a shelf because it would be too small because you wouldn't see it. Look, this game, it's again, I struggle to call it a board game because it's not. it's an activity.
It
but
is.
it's damn good activity.
It's the thing. And you may hear us talk about that, the difference between a game and an activity.
It's impossible to play this game and not laugh. And,
Look,
the
the thing is, the game comes from it basically says, what if Jenga but timed?
Yeah.
And everyone at the same time, essentially, and just can't, and it's
Actually,
great
that's
fun.
an interesting concept, speed Jenga.
Speed Jenga.
I know,
Yeah.
we've done that.
I
I've done
prefer
that.
crazy Jenga, where it's just, you just have to stack them however you want
Yeah.
on top. I prefer
okay.
crazy
I've never
Jenga.
done that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Paku Paku. We have a Let's Play of this coming out as well.
Oh, that's great.
Make sure you check out our YouTube channel because it is going to be there. It's only about a 15-minute video. We got through a whole game. It was great. You can see the madness of what that is. You'll get
And
a
that was
real...
just at 3 players. Like,
Yeah,
if
3
you add
players.
more people, it's just more fun.
Exactly right. We do recommend playing this at 4, maximum 5. But you'll see the gameplay on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go and check that out. So, gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the episode where we have one special announcement that we need to let you all know. We have talked about B3GD, our game day, and we've told you that we were definitely going to do a number 2.
In the toilet.
The board game day, not the other thing. We have a date. We are not going to tell you the date right now. You're going to need to go and follow our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/boardgamegateway, because we have a date and it is locked in, and we are excited to tell you when it is. We are officially going to be doing B3GD version 2.0, and
Paku Paku will definitely.
It will definitely be there.
Yeah.
It was there at the first one. It'll make it back in the second one. It is going to be happening in Q3, in quarter 3. I can tell you that much. So we will let you know when the date is coming. And basically, when the date is, when we announce it, we are also going to look at opening ticket sales. I can tell you that if you were on our mailing list or you rocked up to the first one, you will get an email from us when those dates come.
Yep.
You'll be the first to know. If you want to be one of the first to know as well, you need to go to our Facebook page. We will announce it on our YouTube channel, but it will be Facebook first because that's where we post with and talk with a lot of our community, and our Discord for that matter, which you can find links for at our Facebook page. So if you are keen to come to the next Board Game Gateway game day, B3GD, you need to go and either like and subscribe our YouTube channel, go to our Facebook page and or Discord, or all 3 if you want to be kept in the know, because we had such a fun time. We decided we wanted to do it again.
Yeah, it was
and
great.
Look, we are not going to make the mistake we made last time. We are definitely getting the bigger room from the start, so we will have more tickets available. But given how sales went last time, there is still a good chance that we could sell out once again. So we want you to be excited for that. So
yeah, definitely reserve your spot once it's available.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. But we will be having a chat about that, and we will let you know on all of our social media and on the YouTube channel when that is ready to go. So, with that exciting news and that little teaser to come, we are going to say goodbye for now. Thank you very much for joining us. Ralph,
Thank you.
Damien, and myself, Neeber, we have been your host for the Board Game Gateway. We have got some more interesting content coming up in the near future plans, so make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff down below in the YouTube land.
The alerts.
Make sure you leave us a comment, all that stuff. What is let's ask a question. What is one of your favorite deck building games? We want to hear it down in the comments down below. Leave it down there and why.
Which is different from deck construction.
Yes, that is exactly. I want to hear what's one of your favorite deck building games. We'll ask that one, and then we'll read them out in the next episode. But until that next episode, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.